And welcome to The Bottom Line, where we unpack some of the main business and economic stories of the day. Today's announcements on updated economic and investment policies delivered by Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and Finance Minister Andrzej Domański at the Warsaw Stock Exchange were highly anticipated by both media and entrepreneurs. Now that we have a clearer picture of how Poland's economic and investment policies are changing, to what extent will 2025 be the year of investment breakthrough? Or is this just a symbolic beginning of a longer journey? Here with me to break down the strategy, numbers, and investment catchphrases is Marek Tatała, CEO of the Economic Freedom Foundation. Hello, and thank you for joining us in the studio.
Good afternoon.
So to begin with, lots of catchphrases today, but no actual new numbers, really, if you dig deep. Prime Minister Tusk speaks of 2025 as a breakthrough year based on a simple strategy: investments, investments, and more investments. It sounds straightforward enough, but is it really?
I think the question is what type of investments. Poland has a problem of low investment rate to GDP. We have one of the lowest rate in the region, also in the European Union. What is the key here is the problem with private investments. We were investing a lot in the past from public money, budget, also projects co-financed by European Union funds. But what we have been experiencing for many years is the lack of incentives of private entrepreneurs to invest in Poland. And I think this is the second pillar of today's presentation, that is deregulation, institutional stability that is expected by Polish business, by foreign companies investing in Poland, that will create a friendly environment to increase this private investment rate.
Absolutely. I think that this private investment was something that was definitely picked up on economic commentators right after their speeches. I wanted to also ask your opinion on this figure, 650 billion zloty, approximately 155 billion euros. If you actually dig deep, it's about 16.7% of this year's approximate GDP, but really it's actually less than last year's GDP. Last year was 17.7. In 2023 was 17.4 last year, 17.7 in 2023. And if you look even further back, 5 to 7 years ago, it was actually 20% of GDP that went into investment. So we're actually looking at a lower figure of investment that is going in. What are your comments in regards to that?
We have been experiencing steady decline, as you noticed, from around 20% to these numbers closer to 17%. What I heard today is that this is the minimum. There was also number 700 billion and more. So I hope this is just the minimum plan, and we'll target to achieve something more ambitious next year. And I think our long-term goal should be to at least return to 20% of investments to GDP. This should be long-term priority, maybe for the next 3-4 years, the end of this political term in Poland. This can only happen with private investments increasing, because we cannot substitute this with money from budget. We are under excessive deficit procedure in the European Union legal system. So the only potential source of really bigger investments, apart from maybe some extra inflow of the EU funds, is investments by private investors, either Polish entrepreneurs or foreign investors coming to Poland. And Prime Minister also mentioned foreign investments that are planned to happen in Poland.
Sure. The economic strategy we heard today is based on 6 pillars. I'd like to ask production to just bring up an image of those 6 pillars. We're looking at investment in R&D, energy transformation, modern technologies, development of ports, and modernization of railways, dynamic capital market, and this business cooperation. Each one of these pillars really seems eligible for a strategy of its own, and not necessarily one that can be implemented really kind of to get it going in 1 year. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think of these 6 pillars? Because it seems like a very ambitious plan.
I think in this pillars, I see 3 priorities. The first, we already discussed, private investments. The second is building more friendly business climate in Poland, and this can be done through deregulation at the Polish national level, but also at the EU level, because a vast percentage of the law in Poland is affected by EU regulations, and this is somehow parallel to the discussion that is happening now during Polish presidency at the EU level, that we should deregulate in Europe, the competitiveness compass presented by Ms. von der Leyen and other ideas that are now discussed in Europe. But Poland should also do something by their own, meaning deregulation locally. And this is the similar job for other member states of the EU if they want economies to grow faster. And third priority, I think, is energy. This is something affecting really Polish businesses and in general European businesses in competition with, for example, Asia, with North African countries and other countries that can compete with cheaper energy. So here, this nuclear energy, this is important, but this is very long term. It will take time until we'll see the first nuclear power plant in Poland. So we should also have some kind of short-term solutions for making, for example, the green transition more smoother, maybe some kind of deregulation in terms of EU green policies that is happening not only in Poland but at the EU level, so that the prices are lower now, not in 10 years, because the expectation to improve competitiveness is now, not in 10 years, because in 10 years some of these companies may disappear.
And you mentioned these private investments, and I sense that you're also a big fan of this deregulation process for private entrepreneurs. I mean, economic commentators mentioned right away that no private investments, like there was no clear mention of how to get these private investments going in a significant way. How realistic do you think it is to actually get those private investments going in light of everything that we heard today?
My understanding of today's event is that it's just the beginning. Prime Minister told us that it's not time for speaking, for writing reports, but it's time for doing. And I hope after speeches today, Minister of Finance, Minister of Economy, other key political players in Poland will start working on details of this program, because I think this is also somehow something that was missing. More details, what will really deregulate. There was even an idea that one of Polish entrepreneurs will present some ideas. I think we already know we don't need new entrepreneurs to work on these plans, because when you look at reports by many think tanks, by many business associations in Poland, there are many recommendations what to do in terms of deregulatory efforts in Poland. So this should be time of doing this, not writing or speaking about these changes. And what I will expect, I think we should expect, is to set some goals, set some deadlines, maybe some speaking in corporate language, key performance indicators, KPIs for this program. Not just that something will happen in 1 to 5 years, but just to, for example, we should know what we can accomplish in the first half of 2025.
Well, that's quite soon, really. The first half will be over quite soon.
I think there is really no time for waiting.
But just staying on the topic of deregulation, what do you think, because just keeping in mind our viewers who would like to have this topic demystified, what kind of deregulatory efforts do you think need to be implemented? Because, for the regular entrepreneur, those who have small businesses, what do you think they are expecting after today's speeches?
For example,
what do they need?
When you look at Polish business environment, but also international indices, one of the worst characteristic of Polish business environment is complexity of tax system. It's not necessarily about the rates of taxation or tax burden, but about complexity, about unpredictable tax administration, various interpretations by various parts of Polish bureaucracies. And here we should expect some kind of simplification and making sure that taxpayers are not treated as, potential criminals, but as really providers of revenues for the budget. And we heard something about this in Mr. Domański's remarks about tax reform, but here the effort should be much bigger. I think also the problem is that a lot of our legal system was written in the times when digitalization was not so,
It was all paperwork.
It was paperwork. So we should digitalize wherever it is possible. One area that is often mentioned, and it was not mentioned today during the speech, is, for example, the justice system. We in Poland are discussing a lot about the rule of law or restoration of rule of law, but we should also think about this component of efficiency of courts to make sure that business people, if they go to court, they can achieve justice in a reasonable period of time.
I have so many more questions for you, but we're running out of time. One last one I wanted to ask very briefly is that the Polish government isn't the only government that is looking to boost investments. We know that the UK is doing something very similar. But if we have this increased demand, it puts pressure on investors. So how does Poland differentiate itself in that way? How do we ensure that this happens?
I think Poland is a success story of the last 30 years after 1989 transition, and it makes Poland attractive. We have high economic growth, we have vast population, a lot of consumers, and despite these difficulties with regulatory environment, we have, for example, a lot of talents, a lot of people with higher education, very strong human capital. We have ways to attract investors here, and I think if we deregulate, if we create business environment more friendly, we can be even more attractive.
Okay, well, we'll have to have you back to hear more about things as they progress. Thanks so much for joining us. And we were joined by Marek Tatała, CEO of the Economic Freedom Foundation. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I was your host, Marie Cato. Join us every weekday for Business Arena at 5 p.m. CET on TVP World. And for the latest in regional business, follow us on X and on tvpworld.com. And for more news and features, stay with us on TVP World. Goodbye.